Well, good morning. We don't have audio, so I'm hijacking the airwaves. And I'm going to play this last week's Prepper Chicks, a girl's point of view. Welcome to UCY.TV, everybody. Pirate Radio this morning. Let's turn some volume up. See you before the first cut. Welcome to UCY.TV, everybody. Pirate Radio.
Well, good morning, everyone. It is Tuesday, September 30th, 2014, and it looks like we actually might be live, and which is a good thing. So it is a froggy morning here in Indianapolis, but it's supposed to be another beautiful day, reaching up into the 80s, expecting some rain going on towards the end of this week to drop us down into that awesome fall weather, back into the 60s again. So, with me this morning, so that way you guys don't have to just listen to me yak on all day, is a good friend of mine, Susan, who is also known as the Deer Farmer's Wife. You've seen her on a few times before, but hopefully she's going to be a regular, so that way we can get some conversation going. But good morning, Susan. How are you?
Good morning, Sunshine. I am lovely. How are you?
Do you have your coffee yet today?
Oh, heck yeah. It's a little nipply this morning, so yeah.
Yeah, that it is. I really enjoy this weather. It's getting a little too warm during the day, though.
It is. When the trees start turning, it better be sweatshirt weather. I'm not happy.
Yeah. Well, the nights, though, are really, it's quilt weather going on, snuggling weather. But how have you been?
I am just lovely. I'm super excited. Tomorrow is one of my favorite days of the year.
What is that?
Opening day here in Indiana, so yeah.
Oh, yeah, September 1st is opening day?
October 1st day, so yes. You're a month behind.
See how that works?
Yeah.
That's okay, because I had to think about this morning announcing that it wasn't August anymore. This year has really gone by fast.
It has. You know, we were just talking about that. Yesterday was my oldest 18th birthday, and, you know, you sneeze, and holy cow, life happens just a little bit.
Yeah, well, there's been a lot going on this year. There has, between trying to keep up with the news and just having a life and trying, you know, like most people out there, trying to figure out, you know, what we can do better to be ready for whatever's coming up. And there's so much coming in all directions, you know. And, you know, in your opinion, is that because we're so connected now with Facebook and everything else, or do you think we have cause to be concerned because of, I guess, you know, you can hear about all the volcanoes, the tornadoes, and, you know, everything else that's going on out there in the world immediately, versus when our parents, or even, well, maybe not you, but way back before Facebook and cell phones and all that. When I was growing up, you didn't have all this information that's so easily accessible.
Somebody say something. I don't know what's going on with the audio here. They'll probably come back in a minute. Anyways, good morning, everybody. UCY.TV. This is Vince.
All right.
There they are. They're back.
So yeah, are we setting ourselves up for panic attacks here because of all the information we can get our hands on?
I don't know if it's a panic attack. I don't know. I think a lot of people do panic a lot, and I know, oh my gosh, there's just so much, between the weather and, our friends across the seas, that I think we've also put our nose more into places necessarily where it shouldn't belong to. So, you sit back and you watch the news, and what part do you believe? What part of it's real? What part of it are we not seeing? We've talked about that too. When they're focusing on one thing, what are we not seeing?
So what's high on your list right now of stuff to pay attention to?
Oh, for us right now, I think it's more getting ready for winter. After last winter, how bad it was in our area, and we had our county closed for 3 and 4 days at a time, multiple times. Being here on the farm, making sure that we stocked up on hay and food and for the animals to help us, and getting wood and just all that type of stuff together. That's my first priority.
Yeah, I think you'd have to be living under a rock to not realize and see all the hoopla about this winter supposed to be worse than last winter. And we had record snowfall here in Indianapolis last year, so I'm not quite sure how the hell we're going to get through all that.
Yeah, I think it was worse because here it would snow and then melt and do a layer of ice, and then snow and then melt and a layer of ice, and we had layers and layers of that. And that was what was so rough. And it was just so cold.
Yeah. Personally, I look forward to a few days off snuggled under the blankets. I think that would be great, but a lot of people out there would be in a whole world of hurt. And I have seen a lot more people ask questions and come to the dark side, into the preparedness world, because they realize maybe, Doomsday Prepper doesn't do a whole lot for, what we're trying to achieve out there. But a lot of people are starting to ask questions and decide that, hey, maybe I should put up a little bit of extra food or, get a couple of jugs of water to have in the house.
Oh, absolutely. We just had a friend of ours come over. I mean, we've been friends with her for about a year or so. She's a young mom, got 2 kids or whatever. And she just, the farmer and I were sitting in the living room with her, and she's like, I just feel like I need to prep for something. And, it's like, oh, great. And I jokingly told her, I said, you took the blue pill, welcome to the dark side. Because people are starting to wake up. And, I remember I didn't do any of this stuff until I met, Dennis, basically. And he didn't push with anything. I was one, you remember, when I finally figured out what I needed to do, I was a total hot mess. I don't have it.
What would you suggest if somebody came up to you and said, hey, I see what's going on, and just in the news today, it says China is going to start direct currency trading with the euro, which isn't going to do us a whole lot of good over here at all. So between all of the theories out there on the collapse of the United States, what would you suggest people start out with? How do you think they should, begin their steps in preparedness?
Well, first of all, realize you're not going to be at the same place that people like you who have been doing this for years are at. And that took a lot for me to realize that, because I was, when we were hanging out with all kinds of people, when I was, oh, they're doing this, I have to do this. Well, they're doing this, I have to do this. No, you need to take a step back and breathe, first of all. I remember how many times you told me that. You need to see where your family's at, financially. because you can't go and just start dropping hundreds and hundreds of dollars. And if you can, great. The majority of people can. On, juicers and steamers and, non-electrical stuff and camping stuff. And even with bug-out bags, I mean, you can't go spend all this money on stuff thinking you're going to be where everybody else is.
You're just going to have a house full of stuff that you're not even going to know how to use.
Exactly. Start off small. Most people think of the big picture on why they need to prep, but how about the little stuff? You are out of work because you get hurt or you lose your job, things like that. Just having a little bit of a stockpile of the basic necessities is a wonderful place to start.
And if you live, we were talking about this last night, if you live in Indiana, you probably don't need to prepare for a hurricane.
Absolutely.
Now, I have seen one come through here, but not at the full force that it hit the coast. So, I mean, by the time it did get up to us, it was nothing but rain, just a lot of heavy rain. So flooding would be an issue that we would have to deal with, something like that. But it don't, like you said, don't hop on the bandwagon with every newfound, oh my gosh, the world is going to end thing that's going on out there. You need to, like you said, take a deep breath, take a step back, sit down, get a piece of paper and a pen, and sit down and figure out what's going to really impact your family the hardest.
Absolutely. And when you're making your bag, if you feel it necessary to make one, be realistic on the items because, you're going to have to carry this bag.
And don't bug out if you have nowhere to go.
Well,
I mean, you're just going to die, or come up, do you want to really drag your family out, your kids out to some place where you don't know if there's, a place to go to on the other end? And granted, in certain circumstances, you might not have a choice. If you live around a nuclear power plant and it decides it's going to, go off, you might not have a choice. I know the wildfires in and around Nevada, California, in that area. I mean, you might not have a choice, but don't hop on that bandwagon of, well, I'm a prepper, I'm going to bug out, and not realize that you have some place to go to on the other end. So if you do, great. If you don't, bugging in might be the best option that you have if you can do that.
Oh, absolutely. And I love all my Facebook groups, and I'm not going to pick on any of them, but there's one group that if I need my chuckle for the day, I kind of get on it. And one of the ladies said, well, I think I'll be okay because I watched The Walking Dead and Doomsday Preppers. I think I know how to handle myself.
Hey, I have nothing against The Walking Dead. So
I don't
everybody
either.
knows my fetish with The Walking Dead, but and I rank on Doomsday Prepper a lot because of reality. Has it brought people into and opened their eyes? Yeah, it has. I'll give them that. It's brought a lot of people into that. So, it does have that good behind it. But is it reality? No. One show that I have been watching that seems to be picking up speed because it is more reality based and it's more teaching, which is what, when I was approached by Doomsday Preppers a long time ago, I told them that's what I wanted, was a show more like this because it makes sense. And that's Creek Stewart's new show, That Guys in the Woods, over on the Weather Channel. So if you haven't gotten to see that, check it out. But he takes 3 guys who have very little experience whatsoever in survival, and he takes them out into the woods, and he teaches them things. I think the last show they had on, he taught them how to catch a wild boar out in the woods and, kill it and cook it. And he goes through like a day of teaching them how to survive and things they need to look for and building a shelter and things like that. And then he leaves them there overnight to see how well they would do. And, he's from here in the Indianapolis area. He has his home base here up in Anderson, I believe. And he has a school up there that he used to teach from. I'm sure he's quite busy now, so I'm not sure how often he does that now. But, the man's got some skills. Is he as, proficient as some of these other guys. I don't know. I'm not going to sit here and get into semantics about that, but it's more reality based, and it's more teaching you those little skills that you're going to need in order to survive if you do happen to get stuck out in the woods with nothing. So, and I shouldn't say with nothing, because he does give them each a backpack, I believe, with some tools of the trade in there. So.
What's the word, Mitch?
Well, I mean, even I think if you watch Doomsday Preppers, I mean, you can learn what not to do in some cases, which can be just as powerful. You know what I mean? But they do have some good ideas. There was the one where they were talking about booking in and, like, the wood shutter things that they made to go over their windows. If you do stuff like that. There are good... There are... Yeah, there are. From it. Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think you have to do that with anything. You need to figure out with your family, okay, if we stay here, and if you feel like, that there's going to be an issue, okay, well, what issues, if we stay here, do we need to figure out to fix or take care of? And something like that's always a good idea.
But I think you hit the nail on the head when you first said, take a deep breath, take a step back.
Mm-hmm.
And, one thing people don't realize is, and I've said this a million times, all of that fancy stuff that you buy can be instantly taken away from you. And, the first place I think of is Moore, Oklahoma. We saw where a town used to be just completely demolished and nothing there but bare dirt. So your preps can easily, all of those tangible assets can easily be taken from you. So, your first thing should be building your knowledge base. And that's free.
Yeah. And, when we were talking last Tuesday about, police going supposedly in areas looking for some of these groups of people, well, with doing that, part of that could be a possibility. I'm not saying it is, so nobody freak out. If they martial law to start implicating some of those practices, if you look at the martial laws, they can come in and take all of your stuff.
If they want to, yes, they can.
And then what are you going to do? You spent thousands of dollars on those buckets of food that aren't going to do you any good.
And I've seen a lot of people say, they could come in, they could try and take whatever they want to, blah, 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 blah. If you've got 30 guys standing in your yard with ARs and who knows what else, really, you're gonna stay in your house with a gun and defend some food preps? Really? I know it's nice to, think you got some balls and all of that, but, when it comes to making sure they survive, I'm not...
All right. I guess this is my thing making all the noise. I was going to change out another. Wow. Sorry about that, you guys. I got bad audio feed here. I'm going to change out anyways. Another Prepper Chicks. This is from 12/9. I think it is. Yeah. And here
57 degrees. It looks like
sorry, my end is making a bad noise.
A great day in weather today, but tomorrow we're supposed to expect some storms. See, I'm trying to multitask already. Storms tomorrow. After that, we're supposed to drop down into the upper 60s, lower 70s for quite a while. So it looks like maybe autumn is arriving, which is my favorite time of the year. So looking forward to it. You guys out in Phoenix area with all the flooding that you had yesterday, upwards I've heard of 4 inches of rain fell, and you guys the ground just cannot absorb all of that fast, and saw extreme flooding going on. So stay safe out there. Looks like hopefully things will get back to normal here, but this winter already, Farmer's Almanac is calling for a worse year than last year, and I know we set record numbers of snowfall, etc. here in Indianapolis, so not quite sure what that's going to entail, but as always, we are trying to stay ahead of it and get prepared now or what comes. Had a load of firewood come in over the weekend. So plan on getting much more. If you're going to wait to the last minute, you're probably not going to find it. I know some peeps up north of us have already said that they can't find it. They're out. That if they do find it, they're wanting a small fortune for firewood. So take it upon yourself to get laid up for some alternative means of heating your home if you need to. Look at ways to self-contain yourself if the power goes down, such as going into an inner room and camping out in your house. Wood, to candle power, just because we've seen too many homes burn down because of it. So, I mean, there are, this is 2014, I think still, yeah. So there are plenty of other ways to heat your home, alternatively, in the wintertime if your power does go out. So seek that information. Don't just go with, oh my goodness, well, we got to go back to the oil lamps and stuff like that. Nope. We make things that are actually a lot safer now. So check into it. So what's going on out there in the world? Full moon last night. Beautiful harvest moon. I think last one for the year. And it was very, very bright outside. And I think the sun got a little jealous last night because we had an M flare, 4.5, go off last night in a sunspot that we've been watching. Along with that, we had a coronal mass ejection. So I know it was questioned last night whether we need to get everything loaded up into the Faraday cages, but looks like we're still here and we're still responding. So we're still good to go. We might have some awesome northern lights going on, though, so look for those. Also in the news yesterday, they're going to hit us where it hurts. Milk costs more ever to signal higher prices for pizza. So I know pizza is a staple in a lot of households out there, but they're expecting the rising costs of milk, such as high as 17% of milk production. Well, I totally read that wrong.
James Freeland. Attention, James Freeland. Mr. JJ Inc., you're being summoned.
It says we shipped a record 17% of milk production in the first half of the year. Let's see. In July, we dropped 8% from a year earlier, and butter supplies tumbled 42%. And this is from the Department of Agriculture. U.S. dairy costs are higher than world prices, signaling imports will increase. And Lord knows what we get when we get imports, especially when we get stuff from China. Usually we use the first 6 months of the year to build inventory we're going to sell in the last 6 months. And this is from John Spainhour, a partner at Rice Dairy LLC. And people are saying that I know those imports are coming in, but in the meantime, I've got to make sure I've got enough to get on the supermarket shelf. Milk futures for September settlement rose 0.7% to close at $24.45 per 100 pounds. According to the Chicago Mercantile, used earlier, the Class 3 variety used as cheese benchmark reached a record $24.47. The price just jumped 26% this year. Dairy consumption increases in the North America autumn as U.S. football fans boost pizza orders and bakers need more butter for holiday cakes and pastries. U.S. cheese consumption will rise to a record 4.88 million metric tons in 2014. Milk use will climb to an all-time high of 93.4 million tons. We just didn't build the stocks we needed to, and domestic cheese buyers are still scrambling to build that inventory, Spainhour said. In July, retail whole milk was $3.65 a gallon, the most for the month since 2011. We've talked about this for quite a while. Now it's hitting us full force in the face. So, if anything, back it up, learn how to make your own cheese. It's really not that hard to do. But I would imagine to see price of your favorite pizzeria increase, so you've been warned ahead of time. So do what you need to do.
Good morning, Cap. Hey, you want to do some radio? I've got my speakers playing here. There was dead air, so I've got this bad feedback. If you and JJ want to come on and do some, have a little discussion for the next half hour, let me know.
And, if all else fails, buy a goat. Buy two. Actually, goat's milk is way better for you than cow's milk. If you follow anything pertaining to your health of your body when it comes to alkaline or acidic foods, cow's milk is very acidic, which is very bad for your body in large doses, and goat's milk is very alkaline. So if you follow anything, I know, both of my parents died from cancer, so I've done a lot of research pertaining to, how your body responds and why and what and where and who and what color and all that kind of stuff. Cancer responds and grows very rapidly in an acidic body. It needs the acid. So alkaline, it doesn't give it the nutrients it needs. So check into that. But just know that goat's milk is a lot better for you than cow's milk. So it might be something that you want to check into. We have two goats ourselves, and they are the cutest, funniest little animals out there. So a lot of fun, along with the fact that they give you product. Just know what you're doing, do some research beforehand and all that, and with the winter coming on, make sure that you have correct housing for them. So what's going on else out there in the news? Ebola is still out there floating around. No chance of it getting better anytime soon, it looks like. And it looks like they're quarantining the entire town now of Sierra Leone, which is always not a good thing. I know we've seen reports of, them running out of food, patients trying to escape the hospitals because they're hungry, all of that kind of stuff. Not a good situation. I know we've been importing several patients here into the United States, and they are spreading them out all over the place. Everybody's concerned about that, including myself. We've seen them in Kansas City now, in Florida. There's a case hit this morning. Miami possibly has a case of Ebola down there. So, again, we'll go back to, are we just looking for Ebola envy or not? But stay safe out there and pay attention to what's going on around you and avoid the situation, if you can. Let's see. I'm going to click off some screens here so I can back up. Ebola, one other thing, looks like we're sending some troops to West Africa to build a couple treatment facilities in Liberia and Sierra Leone. Doesn't look like our troops are going to stay there once these facilities are built, but who knows what's going on specifically over there. We get force-fed the information only that they want us to know, so definitely something to keep an eye on. But the troops, it says, will establish a 25-bed field hospital in the Liberian capital of Monrovia to care for health workers, is what Steve Warren, Army Colonel, a Pentagon spokesman, said on Monday. But always put our troops in danger. Virus poses particular danger to kids with asthma. So, we've focused on Ebola, but coming in our back door here in the United States, we have a virus. It's not a new virus per se, but it's kicking some butt out there. Hundreds of children across the United States have been hospitalized with a serious respiratory illness. Scientists say they believe the bug to blame is enterovirus D68, also known as EVD68. Enteroviruses are common, especially in September, but this particular type is not, and this is according to Fox 59 News. There have been fewer than 100 cases recorded since it was identified in the 1960s, And now we've seen well over thousands of reported cases. It looks like we're up to 12 states, including Georgia, North Carolina, Ohio, Virginia, Illinois, all the way out to Colorado. For some reason, it looks like it has skipped Indiana so far. But one more good reason, I tell you what, I'm glad I homeschool. Symptoms. What do you need to know? Symptoms of this. The virus usually starts like a common cold. Symptoms include sneezing, a runny nose, and a cough. This is all that happens for most people to catch an enterovirus. But some patients will get a severe cough, have difficulty breathing, or develop a rash. EVD-68 is sometimes also accompanied by a fever or wheezing. Those of you with children with breathing issues anyway, such as asthma, you need to pay particular attention to this. You also need to take precaution to keep your children as safe as possible. I mentioned this up on our pink page the other day, and I'll say it again. Don't wait for those in, and I'm using air quotes here, authority, to tell you what to do. Take it upon yourself. Take the responsibility yourself. If it hits your school and you have a child that has asthma, or you have a child, period, and you hear it's entered into your school, keep your child home. Do what you have to do to keep them safe and healthy. This is no laughing matter. To my knowledge, at this time, I've not heard of anyone dying from it, but I have heard about, it's kicking some butt, and it's miserable. So do what you have to do, and don't wait for somebody else to tell you what to do. We saw that happen last winter, where parents waited for, schools to shut down, expecting a storm. And, parents sent their kids to school because, they have that fear of, and I've seen it happen personally, you take the responsibility. You don't send your child to school. Before you know it, the school's breathing down your neck. But I'd rather have that to deal with than losing a child for some reason. And like I said, last winter, parents waited for the school to shut down before, they decided that they were going to send their kids to school. And we saw thousands of kids in the South get stranded at school because of wrong decision by the school administration is where they're blaming it. So when should you begin to worry about this? Unfortunately, in the beginning, it's difficult, if not impossible, to tell the difference between a regular cold and this type of virus. But there are symptoms you should be on the lookout for if your child becomes sick. Go to the doctor if your child gets a rash or a fever, or if your child has difficulty breathing. Children with asthma or a history of breathing problems are particularly susceptible to severe symptoms. Like I said, we're up to 12 states at this time, ranging all the way from Georgia, North Carolina, all the way out to Colorado. Don't see this going away anytime soon. If anything, I'm sure that there will be a vaccine that's going to come out. Who can get it? Anyone can get infected with enteroviruses, according to the CDC, but infants, children, and teens are more likely to become sick because they have not built up immunity from previous exposures to the virus. You can protect your child because how the respiratory illnesses spread through close contact, just like the common cold. You can also be infected by touching objects or surfaces that have the virus on them and then touching your face. There's not a great deal you can do, health officials say, beyond taking common sense steps to reduce the risk. Wash your hands with soap and water for 20 seconds. Make sure your children understand that. Rule of thumb is sing happy birthday twice. I've seen studies, difference between using cold water and hot water. Don't burn your fingers off. But make sure that at least it's the length of time underwater. And that's just sing happy birthday twice. You need to clean and disinfect surfaces that are regularly touched by different people, such as toys and doorknobs. Avoid shaking hands, kissing, hugging, sharing cups, or eating utensils with people who are sick. And stay home if you feel unwell. Oh, let's see here. I know I've been diffusing some essential oils in the house. I know thieves oil is very good for stuff like this. You can make it yourself or you can buy it pre-made. That choice is yours. I happen to purchase mine through a company called Young Living. If you need information about that, please go onto our website, prepperchicks.org. We have all kinds. We have a link to the website itself. But they have an awesome essential oil plus cleaning products that are thieves oil related. So besides that, I've also been diffusing some other essential oil mixes that are awesome. Actually, to the point my husband came home last night. I've had an oil mix called RC in the diffuser, and my husband came home last night and requested that I turn the diffuser back on because it makes it easier for him to breathe. So, it might be something you want to check into. It's totally up to you. But do what you need to do to keep your family safe and healthy. Again, don't wait for those people in authority to tell you what to do. It's your decision. And pick your battles on that one. So, other things in the news, I think that's quite a bit for now. So, here's a couple more. Home Depot had a security breach. I know a lot of, self-home, fix-it-up or people utilize Home Depot a lot. So since April, I guess they've been hacked. Debit and credit cards. 40 million of them have been grabbed. Not a good thing. So, if you've shopped online, it says that you've pretty much been safe. If you shopped in Mexico, you've been safe. But anytime you've been to a brick and mortar, which I've been to our Home Depot quite a few times, it looks like your debit card information or credit card information has been possibly hacked, and they're working on it. So, they're not the first company. We've had a lot of them. Albertsons, Target, Michaels, Neiman Marcus, P.F. Chang's, Super Value have all been hacked recently. Not a good thing. Or is it a step in another direction? Maybe something else can come out that will keep us a little bit safer. You got to watch that kind of stuff. Let me click off a couple more pages. And last thing I want to talk about is ISIS. We've had reports of this Islamic group now in the United States. I know there was a report of a man picked up in Chicago for flying the ISIS flag down the streets there. We've seen it in Texas where they've put the military bases on high alert. Case in West Virginia, Minnesota. So, are they here? I've not seen them personally, but I'll guarantee you that they were here. So, situational awareness is key. These are people that like to breed fear, and once you are very fearful, that gives them the upper hand. But for you ladies out there, something I want you to be aware of with this group specifically is the fact that they are forcing female genitalia mutilation overseas right now, specifically in Iraq and the areas that they have recently taken over there. And what is that? It includes the partial or total removal of the female external genitalia or other injury to the female genitalia organs for non-medical reasons. It's practiced in 29 countries in Africa and some countries in Asia and the Middle East. It's an estimated 3 million girls and women worldwide are at risk each year. About 130 million victims estimated to be living with the consequences of this. It is commonly carried out on young girls, often between infancy and the age of 15. Often motivated by beliefs about what is considered proper sexual behavior to prepare a girl or woman for adulthood and marriage and to ensure pure femininity. You have to understand a couple things. Their belief system is a lot different than what a lot of us think about here. And they seem to want to control the world. So we seem to be caught up in a very PC-minded society here, which concerns me. I know that there were reports of, in Germany, a group of people going around branding themselves as the Sharia police. We've heard reports in Dearborn, Michigan, in that area specifically, about the amount of Sharia law being practiced up there. And you just need to be aware of what's going on. A lot of people would think that, oh my goodness, this couldn't happen here in the United States. Well, guess what? It is. Not to the extent that it is in other countries, but their perception specifically of females is a lot different than what we're used to here in the United States. And they see our society here as very demonic. And let's just say, ladies, you know, a lot of times we rely upon the males in our household to take care of us, which, you know, is a great thing if it can happen. But what happens if they're not around? You need to learn how to defend yourself. It's again, you know, going back to the same mindset with keeping your kids home from school. You know, it's the same mindset. It's your responsibility to protect yourself. Same way it goes with, I know there's a lot of fear-mongering going on because this week on Thursday is the anniversary of 9/11. Whether or not who you believe did what, the fact is we've had now a couple incidents on that date. So situational awareness is very important. You know, if we're looking at anything happening here in the United States, they're going to probably hit a lot of soft targets, such as schools, malls, stadiums, all those places with a lot of people. So, you know, I'm personally avoiding those kind of places. I do anyways, so that's nothing new. We have a mall here where I live. I think I've been to once since we live here. I can find everything I need outside of there. You know, gathering place to begin with. There's nothing specific I need there that I can't find someplace else with a whole lot less people. If I do have to get something, I know I think I made it halfway through when my kids drug me there. And it was kind of funny because it's like, oh, this is, you know, I've had enough. There's nothing here that I can't find.
Okay. Good morning, everybody. We had dead air, so I took and hijacked the airwaves and put a YouTube Prepper Chicks, but since we got some more listeners waking up this morning, I'll just go ahead and close out for the last 10 minutes and wait for Dodie and Lady Pitbull and Jules. We'll see who comes on this morning. I know Dodie's up. I seen her up and about. And hey, this is Vince Easley, standing host here at UCY. And I'm not sure why we didn't have any audio, but I couldn't stand it. Jules told me to let it just run out, but hey. Welcome to UCY. We got some great folks around here, listeners and hosts, and I just want to give a good shout out to everybody this morning that's already here, and that will be Dan Defiant, Mr. JJ Inc. Jules is probably asleep in the background, but she'll probably be up right with her first cup here in just a minute. Missy Gypsy, good morning. And there's our nice bitch, Zori. She's in chat. And Captain Gringo, good morning, good morning. There we go. Howdy all. So, I was hoping JJ'd come on earlier with me and we'd just do a little AM radio. Well, I do have something here opened up. Maybe we'll share about. Kind of coincides with probably everybody's point of view. And the title of this, and this is from worldtruth.tv, is what if everything you were being taught was a lie? who thinks it is and who thinks it ain't. I know somebody had commented that most of it is, and that was because I posted that over this morning to worldtruth.org. And if you're on Facebook, I want to give you a little reminder. I think they're going to be doing some brand new stuff at the first of the year, and so I'd like to invite everybody to make that migration over to worldtruth.org. Hal Anthony behind the woodsheds there, the great folks at Real Liberty Media, and they are, of course, friends of UCY.TV. So why don't we just take a look at it? Let me pop back to chat and say howdy, howdy again. Howdy, howdy. Okay. So, what if everything you were taught was a lie? Indeed. So, hey, next Sunday, I'm sitting again for Off-Grid Journey, and Chuck O'Celli's going to be hosting with me, and we're going to be talking about what is the grid, or what the grid is, and I have a pretty good list. So instead of reading this, why don't I just give you the opportunity to do that for yourself, and I'll drop that in chat for you. And I'll just grab my notes, my partial notes. Chuck and I spent some time on Skyping, and guess what we are going to talk about? I'm going to start the show with dancing Israelis and Khazar Jews. I just feel like it's really appropriate that is where we should begin. After all, that's where we're at today, right? Is it not? So I have a pretty good list going right here. Oh man, I got it. I came up with one good one, and this is I wish you was up here, Cooper, listening. This is your honor. It is called the Dan B. Cooper Award, of course, and I share that every time I see his logical fallacies here. But I do love Coop. He's my favorite Nazi. From the Fallacy Factory, the Dan B. Cooper Award. Now, Chuck, when we was talking yesterday, he came with this phrase right here, and I guess somebody's used it before, but I thought this was awesome. Operation Cooperation. And I know Dodie would probably be on board in such an endeavor. But listen, those of you on Facebook, I'm going to be getting in touch with you and send you a link to worldtruth.org and see if you guys wouldn't like to come on over there and let's take part of this place that's not censoring our posts. Of course, let's keep our Facebook. We've got a good source pool for information there. And so, work with what we got. And but as far as being activists and stuff, and maybe we can make a difference over there at World Truth. And like I said, such great people over there. So Chuck and I did discuss a lot of stuff yesterday, and I have a partial list of some topics. Chuck has a group over on Facebook where people can suggest show topics or guests or anything like that. So Chuck is one of my favorite broadcasters. I know a lot of people have been giving him some smack lately about the dancing Israelis, and I kind of hit him in the face with that the other day. But anyways, so some of the topics, and since Dodie's listening, she's up there, some of the topics that I'd like to include with Chuck, maybe get together on some stuff. But we're also going to be talking about all these topics as what really makes up the grid, the machine, right? The mechanical beast. So it's kind of an examination of where we are and where the people in the world are at. You know what? Let me read this from Larkin Rose. He posted this morning, just a little while ago, and Larkin Rose on ConnectPal.com. And I thought this was really good. He says, everyone who advocates government gives noble motives as its justification for the state. Members of the political left, right, and everything in between say they want government to protect and help decent people and to stop the bad guys. Those who argue in favor of a ruling class by saying But who will feed the poor, or who will keep the bad people in check, are showing a misunderstanding of reality. But but are also showing a desire to achieve a world of peace and harmony. The bad news is the statists are horrendously misguided in expecting government to achieve that. And yes, the myth of authority hijacks their good intentions and turns them into fuel for violence and divisiveness. However, the good news is that their ultimate goal is to have truth and justice prevail. Why is this important? Because it means that in the vast majority of people, the problem is the superstition of authority, and to be removed from their minds so that the goodness and virtue can be freed from that lie. Then I'm sorry, I'm about to get some water here. And then we can watch humanity finally become what it should be. Excuse me, and thank you. So, anyways, Prepper Chicks is on, and I've taken her airwaves since she wasn't there, and my audio. I was trying to play her background was so horrendous, and we've had a lot of got the ground saturated here, and there's some problems in the lines, and it causes this feedback when the ground's really wet. And like I said, since the numbers, everybody was waking up. I didn't want to subject anybody to too much more of that, but I just can't stand that air. Anyways, good morning, everybody. We've got Before the First Cup coming up, and there's my Ojoli Tongue Chip Award right there, or several of them I've received this morning. Kudos, Chuck. Yeah, got a lot of a list I'm working on here. Cancer and health, conspiracy theory, family law, books and authors, alternative energy, eco-friendly and permaculture, Fukushima, Sandy Hook, hemp. Even want to talk some about some religion. I think Islam and since it's become kind of religious, political type of world we're living in. Good morning, Wendy. So I'm going to go about another minute, and I'm going to knock off for the. There it is, 11 piece, y'all. Stay tuned Before the First Cup.